the year's starting out with a bang. With the way rates have dropped in the past 6 weeks, I'm seeing confidence come back. On the refinance side, we're going to get a lot of questions this year, but you guys were focused on purchasing and how to get people into homes. Quick calculation this morning, running sort of worst case rates last year, which were just over 6%, to today, which is just a little over 5%. It's about $350 a month for that mortgage payment. So based on a $500,000 mortgage, that's another $75,000 in affordability. We're not dealing with $500,000 mortgages most of the time, but it's just an easy thing to look at. So we can double that when we get to $1 million, roughly. I saw a lot of applications last year where we could not get people approved, and they actually needed that extra $20,000 or $30,000 to compete. So as rates go down, that's where we're at. We're helping people squeeze in. We've got some lenders, some really, really good lenders that will look outside the box. So a lot of clients will call their bank first. The bank, all banks right now, two things, running 3-4 weeks behind, not meeting people immediately to talk about their mortgages, and very tight policy. We all know this is a time-sensitive industry. So I can't count last year how many times someone said, I called my bank, but they told me to come in 3 weeks. That's not going to help anyone compete in any market. So I'm here anytime you guys or girls need me. Email, text, call. I always respond most days of the week, most times of the day. Yeah, I mean, that's about it. Rates currently, we're at about 5% for 5-year fixed money, which is down quite a bit from last summer through last fall. And 3-year money, shorter term, of course, is a little higher. We're at about 5.6 for 3-year money. And I have a feeling that once we see one drop in prime this spring, the variable rate is going to be, again, the more popular way to go. So people can
What are rentals going at, Mike? Or Paul, what are rentals going at?
Rentals, a lot of lenders are the same rates for rentals, and others will premium them 25 basis points on average. So I would plan for a 25% increase on rental rates, but a lot of, like, TD doesn't always premium rentals. We can go to Treasury and get exceptions for that. As an example, we send a lot of business to a few lenders, so sometimes I need to make a call to get rates that aren't advertised. But typically assume 25 basis points higher for a rental property. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, rentals I'm not seeing a lot of rentals right now. Of course, it's tough to cash flow that stuff. So it's been a little slower for rental mortgages this year, but we'll see that increase for sure.
All right. Well, yeah, yeah, like Mike said, and like Paul said, guys, I think it's going to be a really good year. And hopefully you're setting yourself up for that, doing your marketing and, continuing on as, as though the market's really, really good, because I think that for those of you guys who work hard and do your due diligence, the market will be there for you, no question about it. Let me just start with sharing my screen, and I'll show you some of the stats that came out for December. We'll start with our real estate board, our great real estate board. Can everybody see it? Just need a thumbs up from somebody there. Can you see the real estate board stats? You're not seeing that? Mike, can you see it or no? Okay. All right. You're shaking your head no. I'm like, oh no, I've got technical difficulties already. Well, here you go. Let's start with this year. Last year's sales were 23% below the 10-year average of 34,000. So we all know that the sales, for us in realtors, it's the sales, the number of sales that really matter. It's not the pricing that is dictating, how well or we do. If it's the number of deals that we do. So we're really looking at the number of transactions. That's really affecting the market right now. So we're way down from the 10-year average, 23 point below it. So that's really affecting us. There's a lot less deals out there. But from what I'm seeing out of the office, we're keeping up with where we were last year. We're slightly behind, but we're certainly not 25% behind. So you guys are doing really, really well out there. The Century 21 realtors are almost at par with what we were doing last year and the 10-year averages. So we're punching above our weight here. The ultimate story, 2023 is one of too few homes available relative to the pool, willing and qualified buyers. Sellers were reluctant to list their properties earlier in the year, which led to fewer sales than usual coming from out of the gate. But this also led to near record low inventory levels in the spring, which put upward pressure on prices as buyers competed for the scarce homes available. What that caused is the scarcity of listings is it held our prices pretty solid. The prices didn't change much, and I'll get into that a little bit. Vancouver is one of the premier markets. I think Toronto's taking a big hit right now. Their prices are dropping 5-10%, that kind of thing. Vancouver's still holding. It's just a great place to live. So this is good information for your buyers and sellers, people buying into this market. It's a solid market. We might take a bit of a hit this year. It depends, like Paul said, which way the Bank of Canada goes. If they go up, we're going to slow. If they go down, we're going to speed up a little bit. So it's kind of like a speedometer, just straight up. So like I said earlier, if the first announcement is down, then people will gain confidence, and our market's going to start coming back pretty quick. Across all attached and apartment properties, the sales to active listing ratio for December was 16%. So that's, if you recall, anywhere between 12 and 20% is a balanced market. Anything over 20, where more than 20% of the inventory is selling in any given month, that's a seller's market. If it's below 12, that's going to be a buyer's market, and that's when the prices start to leak a little bit. So by property type, ratio is 11.1 for detached homes, 18% for attached, and that's the apartments, and that's the townhomes, and 19.6 for apartments. So the townhouses and apartments are in really good shape. They're still the higher end of the balanced market, which is really good news for buyers. And it's also good news for sellers. They're not getting the multiple offers like they used to, but a well-priced property will get multiple offers still. So, keep that in mind. And that's when you're doing a listing presentation, I would stress that the well-priced property will get multiple offers, or could obtain multiple offers, and it's going to get a lot more activity. So the key right now, I think, is the pricing. And you're going to have a big discussion with the people selling the properties, your sellers, as to how they market their property, and the big thing is going to be the price. And we really haven't had a declining market in, I don't know, 20 years, something like that. It's been a long time since I had this discussion. But there used to be a thing where, you get a buyer that wants to list high, and they think their place is the Taj Mahal, best in the thing. They did renos, is better than the guy next door and the other guy, and they're the best on the block. And we used to call it, they'd end up listing high and then end up following the market down. And you really don't want to get into that scenario. And what that means is that, let's say they listed the market value the CMA that you brought to them said that their houses should sell for in around 1.8 million, but they're adamant that they're going to sell at 2 million. So you're going to take the listing for sure. They're the boss. You don't want to buy the listing, but you need the listing. You're going to take it and list it at 2 million. Well, the market goes on. It's a slower market. The property, there's 2 or 3 that were out there at 1.8 that were similar to that one. They'll sell. And if the market slows more, the next time that comes up, there's going to be at 1 and 7, and the guy that'll go out 1.7 million. Well, the guy that you say, well, geez, I better change my price. Well, I'll go to 1.9. And, the next property that sells is, 1.7, and then so on. And then he'll go, well, 3 months later, you got a review, and he's, well, he still hasn't sold. What's going on? What's the matter with you? And then the guy next door, one sells at 1.6, and so on. And he goes to 1.7 and a 1.8, whatever it is. So they follow the market down. But you've got to be really strong in talking to them. Had he went in at the 1.8 initially, he probably would have been the guy that sold. So one way, shape, or form, you're going to have to convince them to list their property at the fair market value that you've come up with on your CMA that you think is there. So you really got to And the only way to do that, I think, is with the stats and kind of show them a lot of stats out here that support your pricing on that one there. Anyway, going back to this one here, we'll come back to that. The sales to active ratio is balanced right now for homes. It's actually moved into a buyer's market, meaning there's more listings than there are sales, or relatively more. And but for townhomes and apartments, it's still in the higher end of the balanced market. So sales of detached homes in December 2023 reached 376. And I'm just on here, we're talking about decreases compared to 2023. This represents a 7.7% increase from December 2022 and a 0.9 decrease compared to November 2023. Sales of apartment homes reached 719 in 2023, a 2.4% increase compared to 702 in December 2022. The benchmark of an apartment home was 751. This represents a 5.6 increase from December 2022 and a 1.5% decrease compared to November. For attached homes, benchmark price of a townhouse was $1,072,000. This represents a 6.4% increase from December 2022 and a 1.8 decrease from November. So this is what I was talking about compared to Toronto. Toronto, these numbers are different. The year over year, they're starting to go down. They're negative. So somebody who invested in a house and paid $2 million for it now, if it went down 10%, it's only $1.8 million right now. So Vancouver's different that way. We're a very desirable place to live. So our market is holding, but month over month we're starting to lose. So if this continues on, the negative, like if you look at the month to month, year over year, like for example, the apartment home was year over year was up 5.6, but compared to November to December, it was down 1.5. So if that continues for a number of months, that 1.5 a month times 3, if it's 4.5%, if it starts to drop, we're going to see some changes in the market. So you want to really have your ear to the ground and on what's going on with your market and provide your client with this information. We can help them interpret it, but if they don't have that information, they don't know what the market's doing, they're going to price it higher, not the correct pricing. So these numbers are important for you. So keep those in mind. You have a copy of all these. Benchmark price for a townhouse, as we said, is it dropped 1.8 month to month, but it's up 6.4 year over year. So going into the actual numbers here, this is the split. This is for December residential composite. That's all three: townhomes, apartments, and housing. Greater Vancouver. I'm just looking at the 1 month change. That's the first column here. 1 month change is down 1.4. Year over year, it's up 5%. So we're still in a positive year over year situation, which is really, really good. They're getting a return on their investment. If you go to North Vancouver, it was down 0.4, and well, that one's negative one. That's North Van is minus 3. It's still up 5.2 year over year. So I was in the wrong column there. Going to Vancouver East and Vancouver West, down 1.3 over the month over month, and down 2.1 in Vancouver West. And then year over year, I keep losing the column there. We're up 7.5 and up 5.4. So still good news there. Single family detached, month over month, it's down 0.9, and year over year, it's up. 1 year, it's up 7.7. So those guys did good on their houses. North Van, you've got it's holding 0.4. It went up year over year. It's up 6.6. Vancouver East, Vancouver West, we got month over month at down 0.6, down 0.1. So they're holding. It's leaking, but not much. We're holding steady on those ones there, which is good. That's for a detached, and year over year, they're up 10%. So they're doing pretty good. If we get into townhouses now, Greater Vancouver overall composite, you're down 1.8 month over month and up 6.4 for the year. Vancouver North or North Vancouver down minus 0.19 for the month and up 7.6 for the year. If you move on to Vancouver East, Vancouver West, you've got some changes there. Minus 3.4 month over, minus 2.5 month over month, but still they're in a positive territory year over year. We're going to apartments here. You got Greater Vancouver overall minus 1.5, and you got 5.6 up over year. So they're doing pretty good. North Vancouver, it's down 0.7, slow leak, but not too bad, and up 6.4 year. Vancouver East, Vancouver West, down minus 1.8. Vancouver West a little bit more, down minus 3.1, and year, we're still up. So we're doing good in both of those markets. So that's the Vancouver the Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver stats. I'm just going to move right on to. I'm going to stop sharing that one. We're going to go on to. They have another one out there now. Let's talk to Mark there a little bit before take a little bit of a step back here. Mark, how are you finding the market and pricing, and what is your strategy with pricing? Sorry to put you on the spot. I know you've been away for a bit. Are you?
Thanks, Doug.
What are you going to tell a guy that wants too much for their house? You've done a CMA on it, and you're finding it to be.
What I've done in the past is I've committed to a 30-day. Let's try it for 30 days and set the expectation of having a discussion in 30 days that we will have to do a price reduction. But that has also bit me in the ass where I've got to the end of the 30 days and I'm like, no, we're not changing. Despite the best advice. So
what about you, Rhiannon? You want to jump in here? You've experienced this quite a bit. Situations like that.
Yeah. So right now there's a lot of sellers out there who are trying to get some unrealistic pricing, looking backwards in terms of, oh, my neighbor got this last year. And so really it's just about the stats, what's on the market. And so for me, when I'm doing listings at present, always a 3-month contract. The only time that I do short-term stuff is for buyers. So if they're coming in and don't want to sign a buyer's exclusive, we do a 30-day VIP exclusive instead for them to try us out. That's the only time I shorten that up. But yeah, right now it's going to be tough because sometimes when we wanted to test pricing, previously we were allowed to do exclusive contracts, but now since January 3rd, if nobody knows, those are gone by the wayside. All of your listings have to be up online within 3 days of taking them. So, and there's rules around that. I don't know if you were going to talk about any of that stuff today, Doug, but it's kind of pretty important.
No, we were just talking the stats today, and
Yeah.
what is the strategy when you're talking to sellers?
Right now it's got to be price appropriate, but like I did the numbers. So for Vancouver, 17.45 of the sales last week were sold at or above list price. 20.29 for the Fraser Valley. So price matters, right? If you want to sell your home.
Where are you getting your stats from? What are you sending these to your clients? Are you using Snap stats? What are you using?
Yeah, I take Snap stats and I take the stats from the Real Estate Board of Greater Vancouver. I take what's actually on on Paragon, and I run the numbers. It's really, really simple.
Yeah, so you send them to your clients. You use these to back up what your hypothesis is and what you think they should get.
Yeah, so, and those will starting my video series again for all of that. So that's going out weekly, right? Because that's the weekly trend on that kind of stuff. It's kind of important to know where that trend line is and whether, whether pricing right is going to get you your sale or whether you can wait a little bit of time, right?
All right, thanks. But what about you, Amir? You're around there. You're looking at some listings and stuff. And Robbie, what have you got? We'll start with Amir first. What's your strategy when you go in on a listing presentation these days?
My strategy is kind of an interesting question. I'm very grateful I get a listing presentation these days. So a lot of it is just like, going in with like stats, like that's what it is. Cause and then trying to figure out the other thing is just, what has worked for me is a timeline. I try to create a timeline with them, physically write it out for them. What they were wanting, how to place, when to sell their home. And once that timeline is in front of them, then they're like, oh, okay, this makes more sense to them now. Timing wise, when to list the home, what to expect, all of that, and literally breaking down to one single step, step by step. And that seems to be working for me. So That's and like I have a listing coming up hopefully by the end of February. This is a client who is overseas and they want to sell their condo here. So that actually worked for them to kind of listed everything for them. So breaking it down, and then obviously stats are what I go in with too.
Are you starting to send them stats now? Like pre-position yourself on that?
Yeah, I send with all my clients, old and new, I send them stats at the beginning of the month right away, and then follow up with them on their emails. Just even do like really quick CMAs for the homes that I've sold to them to in the past, just to see where they are positioned in the market right now, and just to ask them like beginning of the year, like what's your next move? You've been in this home for 2-3 years. Are you looking to move now? What's going on? And then just as a point to touch with. So I've had 2 more appointments just because of those emails the next week. So I'm happy about
that. Huge. 2 appointments is good. Yeah, that's great. Well, good on you. Well, you're doing something right. Robbie, what about you? What's going on with you? What's your strategy when if you're going into a listing presentation these days?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Well, I thought I'd ask you now because when you get a call, you want to have an answer.
Yeah, well, I feel like I had one a few months back. And I feel like I learned from that one. So I had went in with this full like marketing strategy and everything that we could do to get the home in tip-top shape. And they were interviewing multiple realtors and I didn't get it. And I noticed what I think is I want to go in and give them options from now on. And
let me just ask you a question about that one that you missed there. How much was your price compared to what it actually listed for? What the price that you said that it should sell for compared to the price that it was actually ended up listing for?
It was like exactly the same. It was like exactly the same.
So it wasn't your pricing that was the issue. There's something else there. Okay, well, I think
I made it sound like it was going to be a lot of work, which it was. They lived there multiple generations, or they lived there their whole lives, and it was a bit cluttered, right? And I was like, all right, well, let's get it show ready.
You're a hoarder. It's never going to sell. You're a hoarder.
I never said any of that. I was just, they started talking about doing up the front room, and I'm like, yeah, like you could probably get rid of a couple of these fridges, or so there's 3 fridges in the one room, right? So anyways, I noticed the listing had just virtually staged half of it. So next time I'm going to go in with the multiple options, because I felt like we vibed and connected, and I thought I had it. We were texting back and forth, very conversational, and I felt really good. And then that's what happened. So I'm just going to have multiple options for them.
Well, I think no matter what it is, no matter who you're talking to, you got to go in positive. We can get this done. Don't worry. A little this, little that, and get it done. And anything you say has got to be positive. Give them a positive spin on it, and then you're going to have to go out and, oh my God, I'm going to have to do a lot of work on this one. But you say that to yourself in your car on the way away. So, so good news was you had the price right.
I had a good mentor.
Yeah, good.
But she, I was like, I'll write a calendar for you. Because I've done that before, and it's like, this is the day you do the living room, and this is when you're going to do. This is what you're going to clean. This is going to go every little step for them. But yeah,
you had a list of chores for them.
I said I was going to have it ready, so they didn't have to think.
Yeah, scared them. Nobody likes chores.
Well, and that's the thing. I was thinking, you're going to have to move out anyways. But now I realize, like, well, they just wanted to get it done, and then they can unpack and everything. So I had to learn. I haven't had a presentation, to be honest.
Well, good. And right, just back to Mark there, where he said he had the 1 month contract, and then they had a 1 month agreement, and then they didn't want to reduce the price. Sometimes what I'll do, Mark, is I'll have 2 contracts, and I'll say, look, if I don't get any calls, we're going to have to reduce the price. I've told you it's a lot. The price it's unreasonable right now, but I'll take your listing. But with the agreement that if we don't get any calls or any action on it in a month, that we reduce the price. So I've got 2 contracts here. I've got your original one, and then I've got another one to follow up. We'll sign it all right now. Is that okay with you? And I don't know if that strategy would work in that situation, Mark. It may or may not. But that's just one thing that you could do right up front. you know, and then you don't have to go and renegotiate it, go back to them. So, you know, that might help there. Sarah, how are you doing? Are you doing any listings? Are you out there doing any presentations? What's your world like? Are you there? Okay, well, Sarah, I don't know where she's at, but anyway, guys, you're going to have to come up with a strategy before you go out. You're going to have to know your stats. You're going to have to sign on with Snap Stats. I'm going to show you a couple of those. You're going to have to start pumping that stuff out there and informing people. And you got to be the go-to person, the center of knowledge for when it comes to real estate, and have everything in order and give them their options. It's like I don't know if any of you guys watch Star Trek. But you know, they're the captain, and you're just giving them the options. These are your options. If you go high, you go low, you go whatever. This is my recommendations, and they're always in the driver's seat. But it's up to them to decide what the ultimate price is, and so on and so forth. And then you're there to help them try and get that price. With your experience and your advice, and you know, you guys are experts at marketing their properties and knowing what the market's doing. And we've got a great system behind us in C2021, and we've got me and we've got Mike there, and we've got Angeli, you know, doing all of our promotions for you and helping you out with the ins and outs and the legal stuff and the marketing and so on and so forth. So, you know, I would push you and your system and what we're doing for them, and as well as give them the stats on that. So I'm just going to go back to share. We're going to start with there's another one out here. I'm just going to check the comments there. I think Amir had to leave. And Sarah, I don't know. We didn't hear you. No, Sarah, I didn't hear you. So in the comments was there, but speaker isn't working or something. I don't know. So just going back to the stats here. This is one I haven't used a lot. I'm hoping you guys can see the Metro Vancouver stat one. Can you all see that? This is it's been out for a little while now, but I really haven't looked at this one too much. I'm using the Snap Stats. So this one I started, I had a look at it today to see what it has to offer, to see if there's anything in there that, might be useful to you guys, when you're doing a listing presentation. So the Metro Vancouver one that they put out, total active listings, it has, the list there, and year over year change. I'm looking at that, the 5.5% change was kind of something you may want to use if you want to use this one. Condos, the total active, this is your year over year change is 10.3 on that one. You've got and I'm just looking at the numbers here, they're fairly comparable, in some areas to 2023. So the market is not good, but it's not that bad compared to 2023. We're kind of doing okay. These ones here, I'm just going to get out of this one. I'm not that good at it, so I'm just kind of looking through that to see what we got here, and I think the Snap Stats covers this and more. So I'm going to stop that one. Let's go right to the Snap Stats, see what we got there. Here's your Snap Stats. This is great to send out to people. Your subscription is about $30 a month, and this one here, I'm looking. This is Vancouver downtown, condos and townhomes. Basically, this one tells me that anything under 700,000 is still a seller's market. So that's helping me there. If I'm working with a buyer and they're looking from 700 to 800, it's a buyer's market. So depending on who I'm talking to, well, the stats are the same either way. But rather than maybe looking in the $700,000 mark, I'm going to go to Paul there and say, Paul, I need another 50,000. We want to get into the 750 because there's less competition there. So that might be a strategy. Or with your client, this might be a good one if they're right on the cusp of 700. They want to go 750, and you might want to use this stat to say, hey, look, why don't we look at going at 699, and then we're going to go from a buyer's market to a seller's market. We might get multiple offers in that one. So right in here, I'm talking about this is the sweet spot. 6 to 700, 74 were listed, 19 sold. It came up with 26% sales to listing ratio. If you go into the 8 to 900, 64 were listed, only 10 sold. 84 were listed, 9 sold. It's only 11% on that one there. So just that little price change and the pricing on that could be very detrimental or advantageous, either way you look at it, to your client. So you want to kind of use these stats to your advantage, just kind of, looking over these ones here. I just picked out a couple of sweet spots there. Go here. Back to here, gonna stop sharing. Was I sharing that or not? Did you guys, did you see?
No.
Oh, sorry about that. Let me share that one again. That's a kind of an interesting one. Here's your snap stats. Here's what I was talking about here. I'm looking for the sweet spot. These are condos and townhomes in Vancouver downtown. Anything right here under 700, from 6 to 700, or anything under 700 is 26, 19, and 50% sales to active ratio. So the sales ratio is really good. If you go 7 to 800, even though there's a lot of listings there's 84 listings from 7 to 800, the sales to active ratio is 11%. So this is where the sweet spot is. If your client wants to go in at 750, or sorry, 750, you may want to talk them down to go from 11% sales to active ratio. If they can get into at 699, they'll go into the 26%, and that's where you might get the multiple offers. So that's an example of using the staff stats and the stats to your advantage to show your client. And that might be the same with a buyer, and that's the reverse side, where if they buy for 700, they're going to be in there with everybody else and their dog is going to be buying at 700. But if Paul's going to give us an extra 50 grand and I get them, at 750 to buy, they're in an 11% sales to active ratio. They have a better chance of getting a property. They'll have more options. It's a buyer's market. So you go in one price range from a seller's market to a little bit higher into a buyer's market, from a seller's to a buyer's right off the bat. So something you might want to think about. So, pardon me, bottom line is, guys, you've got to look at these stats. You all got a copy of the snap stats. I send you a complimentary copy out. You've also got access to your real estate board stats all over the place. If any of you need some help with that, give me a call. I'd be glad. I'm sorry, I got a little bit of a tickle in my throat, a little bit of a cough. So let me know, and I'd be glad to help you out with that. We're going to be setting up some PDP courses coming up in the coming months here, and one of them will be on stats and how to use the stats. I think these stats are going to become a very valuable tool to you guys when you're working with buyers and sellers. And I think that the better you use them, the better your presentations are going to be to your clients. So we'll come up with that. And I've been trying to talk Paul into doing a mortgage one, a PD, and not only is it a mortgage information, but we'll give it a PDP credit. So when he's ready, he'll let me know. We'll do some PDP credits right off the bat here. In the first couple of months, we'll be doing them on stats. We'll be doing them on mortgages, how to get more mortgage money, and so on and so forth. So all these things to help you guys out, to make your presentation a little bit better, to give you and your client a little bit more knowledge. And that's the game. That's why we're top realtors do so well. They have that information and they're providing their client with top-notch information. Mike, that's kind of it on the stats there. We're running long in time. Do you have anything you want to talk about?
Yeah, I got a couple points, guys. And thank you, Doug, for sharing your stats, and thanks, guys, for your input. Anjali, who's in there now, wave, go hello. She can do some stats for you too. If you guys have specific neighborhoods that you want to have a brick done, shoot her the area. If you can help her with the stats, then she can make it pretty, and then we can post it on our platform. You can post it on your platform. And again, welcome to the company. Good to see your face here. Regarding your stats, guys, we have the BC, I don't know if you can see me or not. We have the BC assessment that has just come out. You can pull everybody's data from that. And I would suggest that if you have people that are having listings coming up or have sold them property, pull their assessments up. And then in June, July of this year, do your own CMA and start comparing it. That way you've got stats to stats. Robbie, you mentioned regarding your listing presentation that you didn't get, and don't worry, you don't get them all, right? There's you can't say that you did something right or wrong or something. Sometimes it just doesn't happen. But sometimes we try to go, we say a little bit too much or try to do a little bit too much. And here's a case in point. When Doug's talking about a listing and then he says to go to Paul regarding getting a mortgage for something else, go to the professional. Robbie, you can sell the place. You have a plan. You know the price. When it comes to fixing it up, you just say, I got a really good restager or somebody that can be your consultant to fix it up right. That way you're not the bad guy doing that. You basically taking the listing and doing your efforts and let somebody else tell them to pick up their mess, paint their walls, clean their backyard. I think that's kind of gives you you puts you on the pedestal that you have people that are working for you and that you recommend them because they're better at that than you and I are to help someone redecorate a house. And I'm just going by my talking points. But this all goes to prospecting, guys. We got to keep prospecting. We got to prospect for stats. We got to prospect for listings. We got to prospect our prospects to ask them for help. Because I promise, if you don't prospect, you'll go further backwards than you will forwards, and that goes from anybody from me to you, right? So I'm always out there trying to prospect. And speaking of prospecting, Chantel Vignola next Tuesday is doing a presentation for us, and we thank her very much about having to kickstart your 2024. So please make an effort. Angel and Angelie are going to phone everybody to make sure we rally the troops, because that is a really good start from somebody that has done so well from beginning her career here with us, and her background from service industry to where she is today, one of the top performers in the world for Century 21, and she's going to give us her time. So you'd be crazy not to show up. And that will lead us into probably some talks on a Thursday that we can follow with that in one of the weeks to come. So if you don't show up for that, I'm not buying you a drink. How's that? I want to. Here's a stat that Doug was talking about. I had a team from the Fraser Valley, another company that just wanted to come in and talk to me about our brokerage, because they're a new team that's starting to run like a brokerage with a broker that's basically kind of hands off. And their stats now in the Fraser Valley for last year were way worse than what our stats were, not only the Vancouver board, but our personal stats. So we're in a really good market. So take that to do that to your advantage. But just to let you know that we're looking on the other side of the fence as to what other people are doing. And we're doing a really good job here. So I want to say thank you to the realtors and thank you to the staff for keeping us in that position. We had two welcome backs last week, Derek Luong and Marcus Coomer. They were with us. They left to go to Remax. They were there for 3 years, I guess. Derek and I are good friends, have always stayed close to him. And then finally, when something happened, he just said, Mike, can I come back? And January 1st, we got them back. And that's the worst thing about owning a brokerage, when some people leave. The best thing about owning a brokerage is when the good ones come back. And they're definitely a good one, Centurion level producers. So I'm really happy with that. Speaking of awards, February 21st is your 2023 recognition awards at the Terminal City Club. It's an evening one, Angel, is that right? Or is it a lunch? Do we know? I believe it's an evening one, right? So obviously there's a price for that. Angel sent it out yesterday. Whether you get an award or not, that's a really fun event to do. The network with your fellow peers. It's opened up to Century 21 offices throughout the Lower Mainland, and I think we're going to get some guys from Northern BC, Island, and the Okanagan that always participate. And speaking of that, if there's an awards event in Kelowna, for an example, and you want to go, you can go. It's a good way for you to go into a marketplace for a referral business. If there's an awards event in Calgary for the local ones, I encourage you to go, because you will be the shining star there, because people want to meet you because they've never met you before. And Doug, we're gonna talk about your list of PDP courses coming up so we can publish that to everybody. So they know which ones that they can allocate or budget some time for. And the final note, because I know we're running a couple minutes late, we finally got our phones back. Our phone number back. I can't tell you how crazy that experience was with a phone company that we've had a relationship with about 25 years. And when we physically moved, they did everything in their power to make our world complicated. And thank you for your patience on it. But now the phones are back. Angel's answering the phones. We got voicemail. We got page service. For something so simple, it took us 6 months to fight the 700-pound gorilla, and there's still a fight going on that's behind the curtain. But all I can say is we've got our phone number back that we've had for 25 years. I'm embarrassed to how that organization treated us, but I'm happy that we didn't let it go. So, moral of the story, keep fighting, keep prospecting, have your stats, don't talk above your pay grade, bring in people who have the expertise like mortgages, restagers, painters, landscapers that can add value to what it is that you're doing, and you will shine. And ask for help, because you can't do it by yourself. It can be a really, really, really lonely business if you don't ask for help and you don't communicate with your peers, and that's not what we operate here. So in saying all that, I'll see you guys shortly. I'll be in. And does anybody have any questions for me before we end this? Mark, I know you're going to ask me a doozy, so don't ask me the doozy question.
No, I won't ask you. I'll keep it.
Even up. I just want to say one thing, Mike, is that, when I was doing the Realty 101 class, I was uploading these stats to my website, the Century 21 website, and I uploaded a bunch of things in my blog. In the blog, it went through the blog and it sent it out to my mailing list automatically. So all of the people that were on my list got a copy of the stats and with my summary on them. But what happened consequently after that is I was looking at online. I searched my name or something like that, and the blog popped up and it had the stats on it and on Google. So I mean, when you're posting these things on your website and things and putting them up there, they're starting to get traction. So I mean, get that stuff out there, because you could get some return back. As a matter of fact, I got an email from our system there, Mike, the Century 21, that somebody was interested and wanted to talk to me. Now, it might be a spam one. They want to talk to me and sell me something, probably more than buy a house. But check them out. They're from Montreal. I don't know. We'll see. But start posting these things on your various social media and websites, and you're gonna start popping up as the expert in that area. So I just wanted to put that out there, Mike.
Yeah, that's a good point, because our website platform is amazing. It's never run better than since I've been in the system since '93, owner since '05. And the only thing they say that we really need to do is build out some content on your front page and blog every day about something. Blog about the stats, blog about the services. Their SEO's all built in. Have your own original words, you'll get found, because that's what Doug probably did. He put some stats in with some comments, and I promise that if Mark does it and Robbie does, Robbie's going to get found before Mark gets found. That's just how the world works.
Why is that?
It's unfair. It rewards those who try, and it doesn't really pay attention to those that don't.
Why is Robbie gonna? Why do you?
Because Robbie's going to try. If Robbie's blogging and Mark's not blogging, Robbie's going to get the attention. Yeah. If I'm going too fast for you, just let me know, okay? Then
I think you got a bit of a cold coming on here, Mike. It's like I'm not
stayed with you.
Here.
All right, guys, we got to go. We're over our time. Have a great week. If you need me, just call me.
Thank you. This week, be here.
Yeah.
Adios. Bye.